In this video, we are going to see how to factor a square trinomial in the form x squared plus bx plus c. We can see that the trinomial that we have on the screen, x squared plus 3x minus 10, is in this form. We can tell because the coefficient of the quadratic term, which is the first one, has a coefficient of 1. That's why it doesn't have a written coefficient. The second term is in the form bx because we have the x elevated to the first power, and it has a coefficient that is a real number. And the third term is in the form plus c because it's just a constant number. In this case, it's minus 10. To factor means that we want to express this trinomial, but as the multiplication of two or more polynomials. The solution of the factorization of this trinomial is x plus 5 times x minus 2. If we solve that multiplication, it will give us x squared plus 3x minus 10 as a result. If we observe our factorization, we can see that the first terms in both of the parentheses are the same variable. We have x. That term comes from the square root of the first term in the trinomial. The square root of x squared is x. That's why the first term in both of the parentheses are x. We can also see that both parentheses have a number that is being added or subtracted, and that it is different in both parentheses. On the first one, we have plus 5, and in the second one, we have minus 2. If we observe closely, we can tell that both numbers are related to the numbers that we have in our second and third terms in the trinomial. If we add both numbers, in this case 5 plus minus 2, which is the same as 5 minus 2, the answer is 3, which corresponds to the coefficient of our second term. And if we multiply both numbers, positive 5 times negative 2, the result is minus 10. That corresponds to the third number in the trinomial. This is the rule to factorize a trinomial in this form. Let's apply this to our first example. In our first example, we want to factorize the expression x squared minus 12x plus 27. Since we are factorizing, we know that we need to open two parentheses because our solution to our factorization will be the product of two binomials. We know that the first term will be the square root of the first term in our trinomial. In this case, it's the square root of x squared. The answer is x. So the first number that goes in our parentheses is x. But now to find the second numbers that go in both parentheses, we need to check the coefficient of our second term, minus 12, and our third term, plus 27. The rule to find the numbers we need is to find two numbers whose product is the third term, in this case positive 27, and whose sum is minus 12. First, let's look for numbers that gives us 27 when we multiply them. 3 times 9 is 27. Now let's see what we get if we add them. 3 plus 9 is 12. Even though it resembles the second term, it's not the same because we need negative 12, not positive 12. So let's see if it works with the same numbers, but if I change the signs. If I add minus 3 plus minus 9, this would be the same as minus 3 minus 9. And minus 3 minus 9 is minus 12. It is the second term. But now let's see if we get positive 27 when we multiply them. Minus 3 times minus 9 is positive 27 because we're multiplying negative times negative, and it gives us positive. That means that the numbers that we need are minus 3 and minus 9. So minus 3 in one of them and minus 9 in the other one. It doesn't matter which one we write first, as long as each number has its correct sign. In this case, both numbers are negative. The result of the factorization of this trinomial is x minus 3 times x minus 9. To check if our factorization was correct, we have to solve the multiplication. So let's multiply x minus 3 times x minus 9. x times x, x squared. X times minus 9, minus 9x. Minus 3 times x, minus 3x. And minus 3 times minus 9 is positive 27. Now we can simplify like terms, and we get x squared minus 12x plus 27, which is what we had in our original equation, so our factorization is correct. Let's solve a second example. Now we want to factorize the expression w squared minus 15w plus 50. First, we open our two parentheses. Then we take the square root of the first term, w squared, and it gives us w. So we write w as the first term in both of our parentheses. Now we need to find two numbers whose product is 50, positive 50, and whose sum is minus 15. So let's look for numbers that when we multiply them, it gives us 50. We can try 2 times 25 because it gives us 50. But 2 plus 25 is not minus 15. So 2 and 25 don't work. Let's look for other numbers. Let's try 5 times 10. 5 times 10 is 50. And 5 plus 10 is 15. It's not in the sign we need. So let's try changing the numbers. Minus 5 plus minus 10. That is the same as minus 5 minus 10. And it gives us minus 15. That is the number we need. Now let's try the multiplication. Minus 5 times minus 10 gives us positive 50. So that means that the second terms that we need in our parentheses are minus 5 and minus 10. Minus 5 in one of them and minus 10 in the other one. And this is the solution to our trinomial, because minus 5 times minus 10 gives us positive 50, and minus 5 minus 10 gives us minus 15. The signs of the numbers in our parentheses aren't always going to be the same. They can also be different. Let's see a third example. In this third example, we are factorizing the expression x squared plus 3x minus 10. So again, we write the equal sign and open our two parentheses. We know that the first term is going to be the square root of the first term in the trinomial. So the square root of x squared is x. So x will be the first number in both of our parentheses. Now we need to find two numbers whose product is minus 10 and whose sum is positive 3. So first, let's look for the numbers that gives us minus 10 when we multiply them. We know that 2 times 5 is 10, but since we need negative 10, that means that one of the numbers has to be positive and the other one is going to be negative. So it can be positive 2 times negative 5. 2 times minus 5 is minus 10. Let's see if they also work for the addition. Positive 2 plus minus 5 is minus 3. It's not the number we need because we need a positive 3. So that means that it's not going to be 2 and minus 5. Let's work with minus 2 times positive 5. Minus 2 times 5 is minus 10. And minus 2 plus positive 5 is positive 3, which is the number that we need. So that means that the correct numbers are minus 2 and 5. So we write minus 2 in one of them and positive 5 in the other one. And this is the result of the factorization of our trinomial. This was how to factor a squared trinomial in the form x squared plus bx plus c. Thank you for watching this video.